Tonight I would like to share a story with you about family and friendship, the demise of two Jewish communities, the wondrous notion of Beshert, and most importantly, Lador Vador, the passing of Jewish tradition and history from generation to generation. The story begins in Suwałki in northern Poland in 1912, where my parents were born. They emigrated to America in 1938, among the lucky ones who escaped the horrors of Hitler. They were brought to Newcastle, a small town in western Pennsylvania, by my mother's uncle, who, troubled by the news from Europe and knowing my parents had Polish exit visas, sent them boat tickets to America. They sadly left behind friends and family, many of whom did not survive. When the war was over, they corresponded with both Jewish and non-Jewish friends remaining in Suwałki, including a distant cousin named Nochem, and they frequently sent packages of clothing, household items, and food back to those folks. Nochem's family had a Torah that had been passed down in his family for several generations, but he wrote them that he had not been able to find the sacred scroll when he searched for it after the war. Meanwhile, over the years, the letters and the packages continued. Then in the early 1970s, Nochem wrote with incredible news. He was renovating a farmhouse his family owned before the war, and when he knocked down a wall, out fell the Torah. It apparently had been hidden by the non-Jewish family who lived there during the Nazi occupation. Since there were no longer enough Jews left in Suwałk for a minyan, he asked if my parents, who had been so helpful to him and others, would accept the Torah for the synagogue in Newcastle. Of course, my parents said yes, but the government would not let the Torah leave Poland. It was deemed a cultural artifact. Then in spring of 1974, my father was in New York on a business trip and called a Catholic friend, a retired policeman whose family came from his hometown, to say hello. Frank Dubowski asked my father if there was anything he'd like him to take to Suwałk on an upcoming trip. My father said no, but there was something he would like him to bring back. He explained the significance of the Torah and asked Frank a huge favor. Shortly before the high holidays, my father received a call. Dubowski had smuggled the Torah out. My parents arranged for the Torah to be shipped to Newcastle, where it was used for more than 4 decades at the conservative Congregation Tifereth Israel, later called Temple Hadar Israel, after a merger with Newcastle's Reform congregation. However, in 2015, faced with declining Jewish population in its small Rust Belt community, Temple Hadar Israel voted to start a 3-year shutdown process. It was decided that the Suwałki Torah would be given to the Hillel at the University of Pittsburgh. Hillel planned a weekend in early 2018 to welcome the Torah, beginning with a ceremony in which my sister and I, representing our parents and lost Jews of Suwałk, passed the Torah to a member of the Jewish community who passed it to the Hillel president. It was a joyous and emotional event, complete with klezmer band, a receiving line of Jewish leaders, student leaders passing the Torah from one to another, a celebratory Shabbat dinner, and services. I spoke and shared stories about my parents, Suwałki, and Newcastle. That weekend, participating in the ceremonies, watching the students joyfully dance with the Torah, and seeing their devotion to Judaism gave new meaning to Lador Vador. But don't forget, this is also a story about Beshert. Of course, there was a discovery of the Torah during farmhouse renovations years after the war, my father's visit to New York coinciding with Dubowski's trip to Poland, both Beshert obviously meant to be. Then a few months after the Hillel event, I was cleaning out a drawer. Don't ask me why I was cleaning out a drawer, and came across an address book belonging to my mother, who died in 2002, more Beshert. I found the late Frank Dubowski's address, but also the names Frank and Linda Dubowski, who appeared to be his son and daughter-in-law, truly Beshert. With a little help from Google, I was able to locate Frank, and a letter confirmed he indeed was the retired policeman's son. In a follow-up email, I asked him to help tie up a loose end. Did he know how his father smuggled the Torah out of Poland? He did. His father's cousin had a friend who was a customs agent, and this was pre-TSA days, and arranged to be on duty the day Dubowski was to leave Poland. He told him to wrap the Torah, which was a small Torah, like a present, and he would let him through. However, when Dubowski got to the airport, the friend was not on duty. Frank said his father waited until just before the flight and then ran quickly through the customs line. The agent yelled at him to stop and said, "What's in the package?" Dubowski said, "Oh, it's a last-minute present for my family. You know how families are. I have no idea what they gave me." The customs agent nodded sympathetically and waved him through. But before I finish, I want to share one more thin thread that links Kol Halev to this tale of Beshert and Lador Vador. One of our Torahs, which you saw this evening, comes from Newcastle. When the then Reconstructionist Havarav Cleveland was ready to purchase its Earth's Torah in 1999, the Newcastle congregations had just merged and had extra Torahs to sell. One is now ours, obviously Beshert. And now for Lador Vador. My mother of blessed memory spoke at our Torah dedication service, elated that this Torah, for the community that had welcomed her as an immigrant, would now be part of her daughter's community, literally from generation to generation. Dick joins me in wishing you Gemara Hatima Tova and a year filled with wonderful coincidences, the love of Torah, and opportunities for sharing Lador Vador.